I never thought I'd dread Thanksgiving as much as I did this year. But when Aunt Val called me personally, actually called, not texted, to invite me to dinner, I couldn't bring myself to say no. She was one of the only people in my family who ever made me feel like I mattered. So I lied. I said, "Yeah, I'll be there," with a fake brightness in my voice while I sat on the edge of a mattress on the floor of a one-room apartment I could barely afford. To be fair, Aunt Val didn't know how bad things had gotten. No one did. According to my mom, Diane, I was crushing it. I had a great job in fintech, lived in a chic little downtown condo, and had just come back from a trip to Portugal. None of that was true. I lost my job 6 months ago when the startup folded. Since then, I've been bouncing between temp work and lying to everyone, especially my family. Or rather, going along with my mom's lies. She loved painting this perfect version of me to anyone who would listen. Jason the tech prodigy. Jason the independent, high-achieving son. Meanwhile, my younger brother Evan could crash his car drunk and still get bailed out by mom before the cops even finished the report. So yeah, I had reasons to avoid Thanksgiving. But I couldn't ghost Aunt Val. She was the only one who ever came to my piano recitals as a kid. She'd mail me birthday cards with handwritten notes, even when I forgot hers. And more importantly, she was the only one who didn't look through me like I was just a prop in Diane's "look how successful my family is" routine. Still, when the day came, I almost didn't go. I stood in front of the mirror wearing the only blazer I owned, trying to figure out if I looked like someone who had it all together or someone pretending he did. The latter, probably. But I slapped on a smile, grabbed a bottle of cheap wine to seem thoughtful, and drove to the house I used to call home. Walking into that house was like stepping into a museum where everything looks familiar, but none of it belongs to you anymore. The same crystal bowl with the same red punch. The same smell of roasted turkey and disappointment. My mom hugged me too tightly, like she always does when she's overcompensating. "There's my big shot boy." She beamed, loud enough for everyone to hear. I smiled and said nothing. Evan was already halfway through a beer, lounging on the couch like he owned the place. He smirked when he saw me. I didn't ask what he was smirking at. Maybe he could tell I'd worn this outfit one too many times. Dinner was mostly surface-level chatter. Cousin Katie talked about her wedding plans, Grandpa complained about gas prices, and Mom kept nudging me to tell everyone about the Portugal trip. I played along. Said something vague about the food and the beaches. Nobody questioned it. That was the thing about my family. They never wanted the truth, just the performance. Then, as we sat down for dinner and Aunt Val raised her glass for a toast, she smiled at me with genuine warmth. "Jason," she said, "I'm so glad you're here. How are you liking the apartment?" I froze. "The what?" I asked. She blinked. "The apartment I got for you. Diane said you loved it. The one near Harborview?" Silence. Every fork stopped midair. My mom's smile dropped like a stone. That was the moment everything started to unravel. I stared at Aunt Val like she'd just spoken a language I didn't understand. "The apartment you got me?" She nodded, suddenly looking uncertain. "Diane told me you moved in a few weeks ago, that you were loving the location and it." "Wait, what apartment?" I cut her off. "I don't have an apartment near Harborview." The room fell silent. Evan stopped chewing. My mother's face went pale. Aunt Val slowly turned her head toward my mom. "Diane." For a moment, Diane looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then, like flipping a switch, she smiled. "Honey, you're confused. That was supposed to be a surprise for Christmas, remember?" "Bull. Absolute bull." "Don't," I said. My voice cracked. "Don't lie right now." "Jason," she said with that rehearsed calm, "I didn't want to overwhelm you with everything at once. I was planning to." "No, you told Aunt Val I already lived there. That I loved it." I looked back at Aunt Val. Her face had gone from confusion to something harder. Sharper. She wasn't stupid. "Diane," Aunt Val said, her voice cold now. "I wired you the money directly. Full payment. You told me Jason picked the place himself." "I did," my mom snapped, losing her grip on the act. "I mean, he was supposed to." "Things changed." "Changed how?" I asked. She sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose like I was the one making a scene. "It just didn't seem like the right time for you to have your own place, that's all. You were still figuring things out. And Evan needed help." The room shifted. All eyes landed on Evan. I looked at him. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Wait," I said slowly, my heart pounding. "You gave the apartment to Evan?" "I didn't give it," she snapped. "It's temporary. He was in a rough spot and I'm in a rough spot," I said, louder than I meant to. "You told Aunt Val I had it. You lied to her. You let her believe she did something kind for me. Aunt Val was staring at my mother like she'd never seen her before. Did you ever even tell Jason about it? She asked. Diane opened her mouth, closed it, then looked down at her plate. That was the answer. Unbelievable, Aunt Val whispered. I pushed back my chair and stood. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. So let me get this straight. You took a gift meant for me, an apartment Aunt Val paid for, and gave it to Evan, without telling me, then lied to both of us. My mom's voice dropped, defensive. You weren't ready. You needed to learn responsibility. That hit like a slap. Evan finally spoke. Jay, look, I didn't know it was supposed to be yours, man. She just said it was an investment from the family. I thought she meant for both of us. Don't, I said. Don't act like you didn't know. I didn't, he said, but he wouldn't look at me. I turned to Aunt Val. Can I see the paperwork? The address? Anything. Her expression softened as she nodded. Of course. My mother looked like she wanted the floor to open and swallow her whole. You made me believe I was just failing on my own, I said quietly. All while you were sabotaging the one chance I had. Diane opened her mouth again, but I was already walking out of the dining room. The illusion was gone. All that was left now was the truth, and I wasn't going to let it stay buried anymore. The door to the dining room didn't even close behind me before I heard Diane's voice start climbing in pitch. Jason, you're not being fair. You don't understand the full picture. I stopped in the hallway. I could have left. Part of me wanted to. But another part of me, the one that had stayed silent for too many years, refused to walk away this time. I turned around and walked right back into the room. No, I said. You're going to explain it. Right now. In front of everyone. She looked at me like I'd betrayed her, like I was the one tearing the family apart. Don't do this here. I laughed. Why not? You didn't mind telling lies in front of everyone. Aunt Val stood, calm but firm. I think we all deserve to know what's going on. My mom crossed her arms and said nothing. Mom, I said, voice low, was the apartment ever meant for me? Her eyes flicked to Aunt Val, then to Evan, then, finally, to me. I told Val it was for you, she admitted, almost whispering, because I knew she wouldn't agree to give Evan that kind of money. She always favors you. My jaw clenched. So you lied to her. And to me. I did what I had to, she snapped. Evan was drowning. You just lost your job and were spiraling. What did you expect me to do? Give you a luxury condo while Evan was couch surfing and maxed out on credit cards? Yes, I shouted. Yes, because it was for me. Because someone finally wanted to do something for me, and you stole it. She said you needed to learn responsibility, Aunt Val said, her voice sharp as glass. She did the same thing when we were kids, I said. Remember the college fund you set up? She used it for Evan's rehab after his first DUI. I didn't find out until I was already deep in student debt. Aunt Val's face changed. What? Diane's mask cracked. That money wouldn't have been enough for a full ride anyway. Aunt Val's hands trembled. That's not the point. Evan stood up now, eyes wide. Wait, that was Jason's college fund? You told me it was just some family emergency money. Sit down, Diane hissed, but it was too late. He looked at me, eyes filled with something I'd never seen from him before, shame. Jason, man. I didn't know. I swear. I wouldn't have. Yeah, you would have, I said. Because you always do. And she always covers for you. It was finally sinking in, I think, for everyone. My mom had built this warped little system where Evan's failures were everyone else's problem and my achievements were just props to cover them. Jason, you have to understand, she tried again. You're strong. You've always been strong. Evan's different. He needs more. No, I said, shaking my head. He wants more. You decided he deserved it more. Evan sat down hard, burying his face in his hands. Aunt Val looked at my mom like she didn't even recognize her. You forged my trust. And you forged Jason's future. I did what I thought was right, Diane mumbled, but the conviction was gone now. Aunt Val turned to me. I still have the records. The title, the transaction logs. If anything was tampered with, we'll know. Can we go see it? I asked. Right now. She nodded. Diane's voice broke as we turned to leave. Jason, please. This is your family. You're tearing it apart. No, I said. You did that. I'm just done pretending it didn't happen. And with that, I walked out the door with Aunt Val. I didn't have a plan. Just one truth. I was done being disposable. The drive to Harborview was quiet, except for the occasional sigh from Aunt Val. I didn't ask her what she was thinking. I was too busy rehearsing every version of the confrontation I should have had years ago. By the time we pulled up to the building, a modern high-rise with steel balconies and river views, my chest felt like it was full of concrete. "This was supposed to be yours," she said softly, staring up at the tower. "I never meant to cause this kind of damage." "You didn't," I replied. "You tried to help. You believed in me. She just used that." We went straight to the front desk. Aunt Val still had ownership rights on the paperwork, even though she'd signed Diane as a co-signer for convenience. The leasing manager remembered Diane. She came with her younger son, I think, took the keys 2 months ago, said the older one was out of the country. I laughed under my breath. "Portugal, of course." "Do you want to see the unit?" the woman asked. "Yeah," I said. "I do." The elevator ride was tense. I wasn't sure what I expected. Maybe some evidence of Evan's presence. Beer cans, gaming consoles, a mattress on the floor. But when the door opened, I stepped into a fully furnished, clean, modern space with a mountain view and perfect lighting. A framed photo of Diane and Evan sat on the mantel. My name was nowhere. "I had this place set up with you in mind," Aunt Val said, her voice cracking. "I even included a small trust to help cover property taxes for the first year. It's gone, isn't it?" I nodded. "She cashed it. Or he did." We sat on the couch. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Then, like a ghost, Evan appeared in the doorway. His hoodie was inside out, hair messy. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Don't kick me out yet," he said quietly. I stood up. "You knew?" He nodded. "I didn't at first. I really thought it was something Mom saved up for. She told me she was cashing in some stocks from when Dad passed." "Unreal," Aunt Val muttered. "I figured it out when she asked me to sign some paperwork under your name. Said it was just for filing. That's when I knew." "And you stayed anyway?" I asked. "I was drowning, Jay. I was in so deep with crypto debt, I thought about selling my car, my laptop, anything. I knew it was wrong, but Mom said it was handled, that she was protecting the family." "She wasn't protecting the family," I said. "She was protecting you." He didn't argue. "I've always been the screw-up, and she's always covered for me. But I never asked her to screw you over. Not like this." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" I asked. "That you didn't ask for it?" "No," he said, voice cracking. "It's supposed to make me feel worse." He sat down slowly, hands shaking. "I owe thousands, man. To people I shouldn't owe anything to. I thought this place would buy me time. But now that I know it was yours." He didn't finish the sentence. Aunt Val took out her phone. "I'm calling my lawyer. I need to know exactly what was signed and how far this goes." Evan looked at me. "You're really going to throw Mom and me under the bus?" "No," I said. "You already jumped in front of it. I'm just not going to pull you out this time." He didn't fight back. He just nodded. "I'll move out," he said. "You won't have to see me again." "You're right," I replied. "I won't." It felt cold, saying that. But it also felt clean. Like cutting out an infection before it poisoned you from the inside. I looked around one last time. "This was meant for me," I said. And for the first time, I believed I deserved it. By the next morning, Aunt Val's lawyer had confirmed everything I feared, and more. The apartment wasn't the only thing my mom had rerouted. The trust Aunt Val created to help me cover taxes and maintenance? Cashed out. The account was in my name, but someone had forged my signature. Multiple times. I've seen this before. The lawyer, a woman named Marcia, told me over speakerphone. It's textbook familial fraud. The most difficult kind because the betrayal is personal, not just financial. I barely heard her. My head was spinning. They'd opened a separate account with my name, funneled the trust into it, then drained it within 3 weeks. Evan had signed a lease under my identity. The apartment's registration still listed me as the official resident, which meant if he'd stopped paying bills, I'd be the one in legal trouble. "You could have been liable for thousands," Marcia said. "Eviction, collections, even criminal investigation if the forgery came to light the wrong way." Aunt Val looked sick. "I'll cover your legal fees," she said immediately. "This is my mess to fix." "No," I said, shaking my head. "It's not your mess. It's theirs. I'm done cleaning up after them." That same afternoon, I met with a different lawyer. My own. We gathered documentation, filed a fraud report, and initiated proceedings to have the apartment fully transferred into my name, with Evan's lease voided due to illegal use of identity. We also drafted a cease and desist to my mother, ordering her not to impersonate me or handle anything in my name ever again. The moment I signed that first document, something in me shifted. I'd spent my whole life trying to earn something that kept getting stolen before it ever reached me. My future. My security. My voice. But now I wasn't asking anymore. I was taking it back. Evan texted that night. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." This was Mom's call, not mine. I didn't respond. The next message came an hour later. I said I was sorry. "What more do you want?" Then finally, "You think you're better than us now? You're just as broken as the rest of us. You're not special." I blocked the number. The next morning, Diane called. I didn't pick up. Then a voicemail. "Jason, please. I never meant for any of this to go so far. I was just trying to help Evan. You've always been so strong. I thought you could handle a little delay." A little delay. That's what she called stealing an entire apartment, forging my name, and nearly wrecking my financial future. She left 5 more voicemails that week. They ranged from pleading to angry to "You're ruining this family." But I didn't answer. Instead, I changed the locks, sent copies of the legal documents to both of them. And for the first time in my life, I stopped flinching when I saw their names on my phone. I met with Aunt Val one last time that week, at her house. She made tea like she always did, hands shaking as she added honey. "I thought I was helping," she said, eyes full of regret. "I trusted Diane. I thought, after all those years of watching her manipulate you, maybe she'd changed." "She didn't," I said. "But maybe I have." She handed me a small envelope. "I can't undo what she did, but I can help you move forward." Inside was a check, not for a ridiculous amount, but enough to help cover moving costs, legal fees, and maybe a bit of breathing room. "I don't want you to think you have to do everything alone anymore," she said. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but the weight in my chest was too deep for tears. All I could do was nod. And for the first time in years, I felt something that resembled peace. The legal notices were sent out the following Monday. I watched the tracking updates like someone waiting for a bomb to detonate. I didn't have to wait long. By Wednesday, Diane was calling again, this time from a different number. I didn't answer. An hour later, another voicemail came through, her voice shaking but still clinging to control. "Jason, what you're doing isn't just hurtful, it's dangerous. Lawyers? Court? Against your own mother? You're letting that woman poison you against your family. Against me. That woman." As if Aunt Val hadn't been the one who tried to give me a life worth standing in. Then came the text from Evan. Fewer words, more venom. "You seriously want to throw your whole family away over an apartment? You think that place makes you better? You're still a loser who got laid off and lied to everyone about it. I needed that place more than you. But yeah, go ahead, take it. You always were a selfish prick." I blocked his new number, too. It was strange how quiet everything felt after that. Like I'd stepped out of some fog I didn't know I was living in. The drama, the manipulation, it had been so constant that I didn't realize how much space it took up in my life until I cut it off. The apartment was officially transferred to me within 2 weeks. The lawyer expedited the process after confirming the forgery and misuse of funds. The building issued Evan a formal eviction notice, and I changed the locks the day after he moved out. He didn't leave anything behind, not even a note. The place was finally mine. Every corner of it, from the cracked window frame in the bedroom to the coffee stain on the balcony rail, belonged to me. I didn't celebrate. Not really. But I did unpack the few boxes of my things I'd been keeping in storage. A few books, some clothes, the old keyboard Aunt Val got me for high school graduation. I set it up by the window, looking out over the city I now lived in without apology or disguise. Then, one evening, I got an email. From Diane. Subject: "Can we talk?" I hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won. "Jason, I know you're angry. I know you think I betrayed you. But you have to understand, I've always done my best. I raised 2 boys on my own after your father left. I made choices I thought were right at the time. Maybe they weren't. But I never stopped loving you. I still don't. I want to fix this. Please." It didn't hit me the way I thought it would. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. That email was a mirror of every conversation we'd ever had, her rewriting history so she didn't have to admit to what she stole. Her version of love always came with conditions and silence. And I was done paying the price for that kind of affection. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent one final email back. "You didn't make mistakes. You made decisions. I'm done living with the consequences of them. Do not contact me again." I blocked her after that. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. The apartment was quiet that night. No messages. No missed calls. Just the faint hum of the city outside my window and the low sound of keys under my fingers as I played a song I hadn't touched in years. For the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like I was escaping anything. It felt like I was finally home. Moving in felt less like a victory and more like a quiet reclaiming. No grand gestures. No new chapter speeches. Just me, a stack of cardboard boxes, and a key that finally opened the right door. I spent the first night on the living room floor with a blanket and a half-eaten pizza, staring at the ceiling like it might offer some kind of closure. It didn't. But in its silence, I found something better: clarity. Aunt Val came by the next afternoon with housewarming gifts, nothing fancy, just a lamp, a plant, and a basket of tea. She walked through the apartment slowly, touching the walls like she needed to see for herself that it was really mine now. "You did it," she said, placing the tea on the counter. "You stood up for yourself." I nodded. "I didn't know I could." "You always could," she said. "You just didn't think you were allowed." We sat on the couch for a while, sipping tea in comfortable silence. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. "Have you heard from her?" I shook my head. "Not since I told her not to contact me." She hesitated. "I know she's your mother, Jason. She's not my anything right now. I don't want you to carry this forever." "I'm not carrying it," I said. "I'm just finally putting it down." She nodded. That seemed to make sense to her. A few days later, a letter came in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting before I even opened it. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a photo, me and Evan as kids, sitting on the porch eating popsicles. I remembered that day. I'd saved up allowance money to buy them both. Diane had taken the picture and captioned it, "My boys." On the paper, one sentence: "I'm sorry I failed you, Mom." I almost threw it away, but something stopped me. Not forgiveness, not softness, just finality. I folded it back up and placed it in a drawer, not to hold on to, but to remind myself of what I'd survived. In the weeks that followed, life got simple. I picked up steady contract work again, finally telling the truth about my situation when asked. No more pretending, no more shame. And that honesty started to bleed into other things. I called a few old friends I'd pushed away when things got bad. I took Aunt Val out for lunch just because. I even started playing piano again, slowly, clumsily, like I was learning who I was all over. One night, I sat at my little upright keyboard, the sun setting behind me, and realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for justice or some dramatic apology or even reconciliation. I didn't need them to admit what they did. I didn't need them to say I was right. I already knew I was. I was the son who wasn't chosen, the brother who was always second, the man who lost everything, and then built something better from the ashes. And now, I live in the apartment that was stolen from me, but every inch of it has been taken back, piece by piece. Not through rage, not through revenge, but by refusing to stay invisible any longer.